Okay, good evening, and we're still in Matthew chapter 24, and we're talking about the coming of the Messiah and the rapture. I mentioned in our last video that the coming of the Messiah is in two phases. He makes reference here about his coming, and he describes a time frame that when he comes, that it will be as in the days of Noah and Lot. He says that as in the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be. And then he described an ordinary time frame that people will be marrying, given in marriage, and he's describing a normal time frame. That's why I believe that the time frame that the Messiah is describing here in Matthew 24 is not at the end of the tribulation. At the end of the tribulation, the earth has gone through the worst time frame that's ever been on earth. Over half the world's population, over 4 billion people, have died in 7 years. There's 21 judgments that have been unleashed on the earth. All kind of signs and wonders, people, all kind of tragedy going on. And in going through all these judgments, this is not an ordinary time frame that's being described about what Yahushua is talking about. So he could not be talking about the actual physical coming at the second coming, where he's coming for that reason at the end of the tribulation to rescue the nation of Yasharel and to rule and reign, set up his millennial kingdom on the earth for 1,000 years. It'd be a time frame at the end that the sheep and goat judgments will take place. It also is the time of the wheat and the tares, the parable about the wheat and tares, talking about that the tares will be taken off the earth, which are representative of sinners, so they'll be removed at that time frame. But what he's describing in Matthew 24, starting at verse 36, where he said, "No man knows the day or the hour, but my Father only." And he says, "As the days of Noah, so shall the coming of the Son of Man be." And then he says, "For as the days of Noah, as in the days that were before the flood." Now, the flood, if you think about this, the flood represents judgment. That was the purpose of the flood, was to bring judgment and to destroy the sinners off the earth. He says, as in the days of Noah, before the judgment, you could just substitute the word judgment for the word flood here and really get a better picture of what's being said here. For as in the days that were before the judgment, they were eating, drinking, marrying, and giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered into the ark. You could say it this way: things would be ordinary, everything being normal until the church is raptured, and then judgment's going to fall. You know, this is so lines up with the rapture dream I had a couple of months ago. And when I had this dream, I had not been focusing on the verses that I'm sharing with you, and I really was not really even thought that much about the scenario that is laid out here in these scriptures. But in my rapture dream that I had, I mentioned that the fact is that as my dream started, it was an ordinary day, and there was nothing unusual about it. In fact, after the dream, it was so strongly impressed upon me that it was an ordinary day. It wasn't like a special time day that I was looking for something really special to happen, like the rapture. And so that confirms to me, when I read these verses here, that that's exactly what my dream was about, that it was an ordinary day. And if you want to listen to my video that I did, you can research it a couple of months ago that I had this dream, and you can listen to the details of it later. But that's the main thing I want to bring out, is that it was an ordinary day, nothing special about it. And that's why I believe that we're so close to the rapture taking place, is the fact is that things are sort of normal. Let me put it that way. And the fact is that people are just going about doing their living their ordinary lives. They're not really aware of what's about to happen. I know that there's a lot of wars and rumors of wars, but you know, those things, Yahushua said, when we begin to see those things come to pass, that we were to look up, for our redemption was drawing near. So we know that for those that are paying attention, that we know that the rapture is very near. And because there's nothing like if something major were to happen, if we were to enter into a nuclear war, or if there was a nuclear war going on in the Middle East right now, that would not be an ordinary time frame. It would affect our country. It would affect the way people were going about their own lives. It would not be the description that described right here. That's why that I believe that the biggest sign that we're facing today for the church to know that the rapture is near is that everything is going about in a normal fashion. People are still just, living their lives. They're going to football games. They're getting married. They're giving in marriage and so forth. So it's an ordinary time frame that we're living in. That's why I think we're at a high alert for the rapture to take place any moment. May these words bring comfort to you and strength. And until our next broadcast, shalom.